Well, welcome guys, another video. I'm filming. Hope you can't hear that train sound. So, hey guys, welcome to another video. I don't know if the camera picked that one up. A bunch of people are shouting out. I'm in a park right now. I don't know which park, but somewhere in Puyallup area. Just wanted to give you guys a better backdrop than like some, other videos. Just nice trees in the background here, especially since this is going to be another boring talking point video that I love to do. And I'm going to talk a bit about Micro Traxion belays. Alright, yeah, so this is going to be a little bit of thoughts about belaying with the Micro Traxion. Most of you may know that Petzl has come out with a statement saying that these are approved for specific belaying applications. The main, or pretty much the only one it's recommended for, is belaying from above or in guide mode in a top rope fashion. So this is the Micro Traxion. We all know what that is. It's been on the market for a while. You get your tooth cam right here. It can lock in place, and then you get your little rolly deal right here. And so this is the approved device. They haven't really released too much about the Nano Traxion right here or the Pro Traxion. I would imagine that the Pro Traxion kind of adheres to the same deal. The Nano Traxion may be a bit of a different deal because it is a smaller device. In the examples that I have of myself using these in the mountains, full disclosure, I am using a Nano Traxion in there because I was testing this out a lot this summer, and I found myself in situations where I didn't have one of these, but I wanted to produce a bit of examples for where you could use this. And in the systems that I was using this for, there wasn't a chance for a lot of load coming on the rope, a lot of dynamic force, so it was okay in that situation. But in the future, I am going to be belaying only with this device. So if you're watching, waiting for me to screw something up, just so that way you can talk about it in the comments, there's your little piece for you. Be sure to add a comment about it. So yeah, this video is not really about how to work one of these things. There's plenty of other information about that on YouTube and through Petzl themselves. But I'm just going to talk about times where I would use this in that belaying application. There's been a bit of talk on the internet about where people use this thing in a belaying application, and I think I've also heard a number of things where people bring this out on a really long route, and they're worried about their elbows pulling rope through an ATC or whatever for like 8 pitches or whatever, and they've been using this thing as an elbow saver device. And while it definitely saves your elbows for sure, it doesn't seem like the best application to use this in 5th class technical rock terrain. And ultimately, what they found in testing is it only takes a load of up to 4 kilonewtons or so before you cause severe damage to your rope. And in real life world, it seems like you could cause the same amount of severe damage to your rope when you're in a situation where you could load it at less than 2 kilonewtons. And what I'm talking about is the main situation when you're belaying someone up and there's a loop of slack in the rope, and then the climber falls, and then you get a shock load onto this device. Yeah, those little teeth right there can cause some damage to your rope and cause the stripping of the sheath, which exposes the core, and ultimately the rope just stretches to the part where it could very easily break. And that's not what we really want to go for, especially when you're on like a 5-9 climb, If you're going to kill yourself, you might as well be on a really intense climb. A lot of pro climbers will use these sort of things for simul climbing and in their speed ascents and whatnot. And there, I think it's, I think that's totally fine. You use it in a running belay system where it's a one-way capture, the rope runs up through, and if the bottom person falls, it can catch the rope. Of course, you run into the same issue of possibly stripping the sheath on your rope. So you gotta watch out for that. Maybe use some thicker ropes, or at least ropes with a thicker sheath could help with that. But I personally, I would use this in a low load situation. And that would be mainly, I personally would use it when I'm belaying on snow, pitched out snow climbing. And that's in a situation where it's you and one or maybe two of your clients. Their two clients are tied in at the end of the rope, and the exact configuration is known as end roping, where one client's at the end of the rope and the other one's about 8 feet above them, tied in with some sort of bite knot, and then you're at the other end of the rope. What that allows you to do is you can secure them to whatever, in pitch snow, it's probably like a mid-clip picket or whatever, and you can climb up 55 meters or so and then belay them up that 55 meters. Now this is pitch snow climbing, so we're on like 60 or like 50, 60, maybe even 70 degree snow if it's very firm. And you just climb up as far as you can, in this case like 55 meters. You build an anchor and then you belay both your clients up. The idea with that is the load on the whole system is low if one falls, or even if both of them fall. It's not really quite enough load to equal one person free hanging on a rope. And then that's where they're going to be moving faster for one, since they're just walking up steep snow. It's a lot easier to pull in rope fast, and you are able to keep a tighter belay. And then that's when you can save yourself a little bit of work, because you can just leave them on the Micro Traxion, maybe tie off with a knot, and then you can grab one of their Micro Traxions and then climb up. Makes systems a bit more efficient, and overall you just have to pull a lot of rope really fast. That's where this would come in handy. Using this system right here would be really nice when you're pulling rope really fast. That's like 2 hands on the brake strand pulling rope through. That can get kind of hard with an ATC, but it's definitely not as hard with how efficient this little swivel guy is. I think it would be a bit of a misapplication to use this device in a 5th class rock setting, because you're not pulling rope super fast, right? If you have your person on a 5/9 pitch, you're pulling rope through, they're not going to be moving super fast. So you aren't going to need to go hand over hand, really trying to pull that rope hard. And it's just not worth there's no added benefit. I mean, yeah, it can be more of an elbow saver versus pulling rope through the ATC, but you can counteract that by buying thinner ropes, using a thinner rope. If you're using like a 9.9 rope on an ATC, of course there's going to be more friction, and this will have less friction. I'm not exactly sure what this is rated for. This is 8 to 11 mil, so you could probably jam a 9.9 in here, and that would be more efficient. Or you could have a thinner rope and belay with an ATC, which is a better device to use on 5th class pitches, and not be subject to that possibility of the rope getting stripped. So if you were belaying someone up like low 4th class rock slabs and you have a large amount of the rope out, then it would make sense. Anything that people can walk up in the rock world, this could be a more useful thing, because you have to pull rope fast, and again, like if they're gonna fall on a rock slab, there's not gonna be as much force on this device. I've used this in the Alpine for those exact things, mainly snow climbing, pitch snow. I could see times where I would use this on more low angle snow ice mix type stuff. Of course, you do run into the issue of, if you have a wet or icy rope, how well will this little tooth thing actually grip on the sheath of the rope? If you have a totally frozen rope, then this would not be a good device to use for sure. And that's partially from my lack of experience. I've never used this on a completely iced over frozen rope. So if you have, then leave a comment about that and let me know how well the teeth work. It's a specific tool, and it should be used in a specific application. And I don't think 5th class rock climbing, personally, I don't think 5th class rock climbing is the best use for this, especially if you're pitching everything out. Once we start simul-climbing 5th class rock, then yes, I'd say that this is better to use, because the alternative, right, if someone falls there, then you can rip the whole team off, versus having something a little bit extra in there. It makes it somewhat of a safer situation. But this is not going to make 5th class climbing any safer if you're pitching everything out. And it just opens up more issues that don't really have much of a cost-benefit ratio. I just watched a video that the AMJ put out, which basically said the same opinion that I formed myself. So that's kind of nice. I guess we're all kind of going towards that same way of everything that I've mentioned to you. It's something that can be done wrong, and if we continue kind of like putting this in the situation where it's not ideal, we could end up with some sort of issue down the line, like someone ripping apart their rope and getting hurt. So that's just a few of my thoughts on this situation. Go ahead, leave a comment. We can make this into a conversation about it. I just like to hear what you guys have done with your experiments. I'm gonna add in some examples now that I shot in the field of where I would use this, and just let me know what you guys think, and then any other experiments you guys have done with these things. I'm gonna keep on messing around with them. So here's a good use of the Micro Traxion belay. I got these guys coming up. Firm snow, that would be a bit too firm for snow short roping, so we had to pitch it out. And it's going up to 1 cam, 1 nut, typical alpine anchor. And I can just pull the rope super smooth through my Micro Traxion. It's just equalized between the two.